rotation. Okay, so you're rotating points around a certain center. Okay? No. No, I'm not.
Is number 5 supposed to be opposite?
No. You have to go, I think it's left 3 and then something. You move left or right first and then up or down.
Yeah, because I went over and then down.
Oh, I got it.
It should, all of them should be on the graph. So this chapter is pretty short. So there are only 6 sections, so you are going to have a quiz on Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah. So you're going to have a quiz on Thursday. What? Thursday quiz. Yeah. Thursday quiz. There are only 6 sections in this chapter. This is the 3rd one. We do a quiz halfway through. So this is the 3rd section. You have a review tomorrow, and then you will take your quiz. It's just on reflections, translations, and then today's rotations. That's it. That's it. That's all it's on. So you should do just fine. Okay? Reflection one? Yeah.
Are we getting a review for that tomorrow?
What?
Are we getting a review for that tomorrow?
Yes. All right, so we're going to get started on rotations for today. So a rotation is a transformation. Okay, it's a transformation that moves every point of the pre-image through a specified angle and direction about a fixed point called the center of rotation. Okay, so you're rotating every single point through a specified angle and in a certain direction. So you'll either rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise. If the point being rotated is the center of rotation, then the image and pre-image are the same point. Okay, so if your center of rotation, say it's at the origin, okay, you're rotating about the origin, that point, and you have a point that's on the center of rotation. It's just going to rotate around itself, so it's going to stay where it is. Okay, that's all that's saying. If the point being rotated is not the center of rotation, then the image and pre-image are the same distance from the center of rotation. Okay, same distance around. It's kind of making a circle here. And the measure of the angle of rotation formed by the pre-image, center of rotation, and image points is x. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of a rotation. So here I'm going to take an image or figure. So this is my pre-image. This is my pre-image. I'm going to rotate this around a center of rotation, and that's the point right here that I'm picking. Okay, so here, this point is going to be your center of rotation. I'm going to take this point A and rotate it 90 degrees, okay, clockwise to get my new image. Okay, so that would be here to create that rotated image, and A prime would be at the top of this one here. Okay, so that rotation is right here. That's your angle that it's rotating through. In this case, I rotated it 90 degrees. Okay, so that's the angle that it's rotating through. And it should keep that same shape. Okay, your orientation may be different, but it still stays that same size and same shape, okay? And all of your points are rotating around that center of rotation there. Okay, questions on that before I get into the rules for a coordinate plane? Alright, so the following rules can be used to rotate a point either 90 degrees, 180 degrees, or 270 degrees counterclockwise about the origin in a coordinate plane. Okay, so we're rotating all of these counterclockwise. Okay, so these rules are used for counterclockwise rotations. Now we're rotating about the origin. That means that center of rotation is that point 0, 0. Okay, so your origin is 0, 0. And that is going to be your center of rotation for each of these rules. So, to rotate 90 degrees, to rotate each of your points 90 degrees, you're going to multiply your y coordinate by -1 and then interchange x and y. Okay, so I'm going to make an extra column here. So my original coordinate is xy. Okay, that's your pre-image coordinate. That's your starting one. So to rotate that 90 degrees, you're taking the opposite of your y value and then interchanging x and y. So that means your new coordinate should be at the opposite of y, x. Okay, so that's how you would change that original coordinate to find your new one. Okay, then for 180 degrees, you need to multiply x and y by -1 this time, but we don't have to interchange them. Okay, so my new coordinate would be opposite of x, opposite of y. Okay, and then 270. This one you're multiplying x by -1, and then again we're interchanging x and y. So our new coordinate here would be at y opposite of x. Okay, so that's how we want to change each of our coordinates depending upon how we're rotating. So we're going to go through an example at the bottom. So we have parallelogram WXYZ with the following vertices. Okay, we want to graph that parallelogram and its image after a rotation of 270 degrees about the origin. So we want to first graph all of these points here to create our parallelogram. So on our graph, W is at -2, 4. So left 2, up 4. That would be point W. Point X is at 3, 6. Point Y is at 5, 2. And Z is at 0, 0. Okay, so here is my pre-image. Okay, and now we want to rotate that 270 degrees about the origin. Okay, so to do that, I'm using this rule here. Okay, so we have to multiply the x coordinate by -1 and then interchange x and y. So from our original xy, we have to change it to y opposite of x. So point W was already done for you. So before you use your final coordinate here, if you want to do this first step here first step, multiply your x coordinate by -1. So in W, multiply this -2 by -1. You get +2, 4. Okay? After that, then you have to interchange x and y. That means you have to switch them. So you would flip-flop those two numbers to get 4, 2. Okay, so that's how they're getting 4, 2 for W prime. We're going to do the same thing for point X. So first, I want to multiply my X value by -1. So that makes this -3. And then we keep Y the same at 6. Then we can interchange X and Y, so switch them. To get our X prime coordinate is at 6, -3. Okay, then Y. Again, first multiply your X value by -1. So -5 is, and then 2. Okay, then we can interchange. So switch to get 2, -5. And then 0, 0. Multiply 0 by -1, you still get 0. You don't get -0. Okay, interchange, and you still end up with 0, 0. Okay, because we are rotating about the origin, that's your center of rotation, so it's going to stay the same. So now that I have all my prime coordinates, I can create my image on my graph by plotting each of those points. So W prime is at 4, 2. X prime is at 6, -3. Y prime is at 2, -5. Z prime is at 0, 0. Okay, and then I can connect all 4 to create my image. Okay, so you can see that it's rotating 270 degrees about that origin. So if I look at point X, again, it's rotating counterclockwise, so it would rotate around this way through your graph. Okay, and it does end up over here. Okay, so that would be a 270 degree rotation to get to that X prime point there. Any questions on this first example? Okay? Relax, we're not doing all of them. Alright, so next one here, we have a trapezoid FGHI with the following vertices, and this time we want to rotate 90 degrees about the origin. So again, first I want to plot each of my points to create my pre-image. So point F is at 7, 7. Point G is at 9, 2. H is at 3, 2. And I is at 5, 7. Okay, so it does create that trapezoid shape there after you plot all of your points. So now that I have my pre-image, to find my image, I want my rule for rotating 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. Okay, that rule from the front is the opposite of y, x. Okay, so that's how I need to change each of my coordinates. Okay, so for F prime, it will turn into negative 7, 7. Okay, so I have to look at my y value. That's right here in F. Okay, I need to take the opposite of that value. That goes first. Then I need my x value, which is 7. So I wrote down 7. Next, I have g prime. Okay, again, opposite of y. So look at your y value in g. It's 2. Take the opposite of that. Okay, the opposite of 2 is negative 2. And then I need my x value. My x value from g is 9. Next is h prime. So looking at your y value, take the opposite of that. So negative 2. And then my x value is 3. Okay, and then I prime, opposite of y. So my y value here is 7. So my opposite is negative 7. And then keep my x value the same. So that is 5. Okay, so here are my 4 prime coordinates for my rotation. After I find those, I can plot each of those points on my graph. Okay, so F prime is at negative 7, 7. Okay, that's F prime. G prime is at negative 2, 9. H prime is at negative 2, 3. And I prime is at negative 7, 5. Okay, make sure you are labeling your points as you do this. Okay, don't just plot it and not label it. You still need to label everything. Okay? Questions on number 1 on the back. Okay, then I want you guys to do number 4. Okay, so that's this one right here. Plot those points. Find those prime coordinates. Done?
Yeah.
Let's see what you come up with. Hold on. Look at me.
Sure.
Your brother, right? I don't even look like anybody. What does he look like? Oh, let me see. I look like okay.
No, I shouldn't.
This past to class.
Oh.
He says he has a meeting.
Oh.
I think.
My shit.
Hi, avocado.
It's like half sideways, half up here. Oh, I love that.
All right, so I'm going to start going over number 4. So I have my pre-image drawn on my graph already. So since we're rotating 270 degrees about the origin, okay, we are going to use the rule y opposite of x. Okay, so we have y opposite of x. Shh. Quiet, please, and listen. So for p prime, we need to take our y value from p, that's 7, and then the opposite of our x value. So our x value is 4, so it should be -4. Okay, q prime, we should have our y value, which is 6. And then the opposite of x, so -6. It's the bathroom.
That's really bad.
Okay, r prime. Take our y value from r. It's -2.
3.
Opposite of our x value
Negative.
is -3.
That's where I gone to.
Okay, and then s prime. Take our y value is -1. Opposite of x, so -1. So that now that I have those 4 coordinates, I can plot those on my graph.
Yeah.
So 7, -4, 6, -6, -2, -3, and -1, -1. Okay, so there would be my image. So that would be the 270-degree rotation, and again, it is counterclockwise. Okay, questions on number 4.
Wait. No. No, I just missed it.
All right, then we're going to look at the review below here. So these problems are a combination of all of these sections that we've done so far. So, for problems 5 through 8, we have to name the transformation that will map tree A onto the indicated tree. So it's either going to be a reflection, that's what we did Friday, a translation, so what we did yesterday, or a rotation, what we did today. Okay, so number 5, we want to see how tree A maps onto tree B. Which one of those 3 transformations could it be? It could be a reflection.
Yeah. I said that.
Okay, what else could it be? Yeah.
Okay. I was confused when you changed it.
Okay, so what else could it be? No. Well, no. Not a rotation. What's the other one?
Slide.
A slide, which is a translation. Okay, so from tree A to tree B, you could either have a reflection or a translation. How about from tree A to tree C? Reflection, it could be a rotation too. So it could be a rotation if your center point is right in the middle there, it would rotate 180 degrees. I'm not going to write that one, but yes, you're right. From A to D. What's that one? That's a rotation. And then from A to E. The translation. Okay, so it's sliding from A to E. Okay, last three problems here are all reflection problems.
Oh, we just had to write what they were?
Yeah.
I thought we had to circle them.
No.
I'm not good at this.
So number 9, we want to take point M and reflect it over the x-axis. Okay, so we can plot point M. Okay, so here's point M. And we want to reflect that over the x-axis. So that's this one right here. So we're 2 away from that axis. So we'll count 2 more down to get M prime. And I do want to write out that M prime coordinate over here. So M prime would be at 4, -2. So all we do when we're reflecting in the x-axis is change our y value here. So I went from a 2 to a -2. So you change the sign of your y value in that coordinate to reflect in the x-axis. Now for number 10, we have our point N is at 5, 1. Okay, so point N is right here. And we want to reflect that in the y-axis. So that's this vertical one here, and it is at -5, 1. Okay, so N prime is at -5, 1. And again, just like with the x-axis, this time you're changing your x value. So I went from a 5 to a -5 when reflecting in the y-axis. The last one, I want to reflect this point S in the y equals x line. Do you remember how to reflect in the y equals x line? What do you do to your coordinate? You flip them, okay? So our point S prime would be at -2, 3. Okay, easy way to remember this, okay? Your equation says y equals x. So replace y with x. Y is equal to x. Replace them with each other. Okay, so you interchange those two coordinates to reflect in the y equals x line. Okay, questions?